I'm going to try and do this quite nicely because apparently I'm angry. Tip of the spear. What is the best in slot backpack? Now, I see a lot of people actually rant and rave about varying different things. I've seen Memento. Sorry. I've seen The Gift viable. I've seen Providence defense backpacks with varying different things. Providence, obviously, 15% headshot. The Gift, obviously, 15% headshot with perfect vigilance. Just Providence defense with normal vigilance. A rowdy backpacks with varying different combinations of talents. Yes, fair enough. Now, the one thing a lot of people look at when they make these builds is they look at the damage that Nemesis will do. And granted, not using the tip of the spear backpack will allow you to do slightly more damage with your Nemesis, which is fine. That's the way you want to go. However, just at base, with nothing else funky going on, the TAC 50 will outperform the Nemesis shot for shot by a grand total of 27.69%. I wish I made that number up, but I didn't. Upon testing, the TAC 50 at base did 11,709,928, where the Nemesis at full charge did 8,467,914. For the purpose of the fact that this is a tip of the spear build, we now add in the tips buff, which also does apply to TAC 50, which then gave us the lovely number of 14,051,914, and it put the Nemesis to 10,161,496. Yes, you can hit harder with the Nemesis using things like vigilance, blah 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 blah, okay? If you put that on vigilance to give it a 25% increase, you will also do the same to the TAC 50, which will also give it a 25% damage increase, and it will keep your damage difference at a static 27.69%, because that is just how much more powerful the TAC 50 is. As well as, over the course of a single magazine, the TAC 50 will do a grand total of 11,000,73326. That's 110,073,326. Guess how many shots you'll need to fire off with the Nemesis to match that? 11. Also, one of the damage numbers that I put into all of the equations was just without the tip of the spear buff, so it was kind of equating first shot without tips buff and then the remaining shots with tips buff. If it was to go full tips buff, you require 14 shots. Yeah, that is just how much more powerful the tip of the spear setups are when utilising the TAC 50 to its maximum potential. So the build I would recommend to players, especially mainly for open world, there are varying different ways in which you can set this up, but for open world I would recommend this 4-piece tip of the spear with the backpack, chain killer for obviously perfect headhunter, and then Dodge City holster. The reason we really want Dodge City holster is, one, the weapon handling, even though it's only 10%, is really nice. It gives us 10% headshot anyway, and typically when you're running this style of build, you're either running 2 marksman rifles or a marksman rifle and a rifle. If you do get rushed, you now have a serious problem. The quickest and easiest way to deal with rushes is Dodge City holster. I'd recommend using the orbit for this, just because it will then increase your crit chance and crit damage, which is yet again more freaking damage. So the TAC 50 is potentially, I believe it factually is the hardest hitting single weapon in the game. Like shot for shot, it will hit the hardest. I have done a video on this, didn't really go into details with it, of being able to get the TAC 50 to hit over 1 billion damage. So by saying that, because a lot of people are like, oh, but we just want to do more damage with the Nemesis. If you want to do more damage, I mean, I'd hate to say you're playing the game wrong, but you're probably doing it a little bit wrong, because you can one-shot everything in the game anyway with a tip of the spear headhunter build. You don't need more damage. The thing that you would potentially need in a tip of the spear build would be utility. Okay, dealing with rushes, which means you're most likely, unless you're like deadly accurate all the friggin' time, I'm not. So for me personally, and I imagine a lot of other people will, require the Dodge City holster to deal with rushes. I have no idea how I shot that grenade out of the air. Another thing as well is chungers, or the fat boy, whatever you want to call them, the miniguns and the grenade launchers, etc, etc. Their armour, including their head armour, is not subject to headshot damage. So you can have all the headshot damage in the world and shoot them in the head. Headshot damage will not apply to them. It just won't. It doesn't happen. You have to break that armour in order for headshot damage to be applied to them. TAC 50 is great here. One, it does stupid amounts of damage anyway. Two, it will pierce the armour and actually hit their health bar underneath. Might not, depending on how you stack Headhunter, might not actually break the helmet, or what we call cracking, or Chunga cracked, in one bullet, but it stands the highest chance of doing it anyway. Another good variant of doing this is with Survivalist, because that bloody crossbow will crack them every damn time in one shot. Utilising the tip of the spear backpack just means you are increasing your maximum damage output through use of the TAC 50. You have a larger and greater uptime and percentage utilising the TAC 50 as much as possible. Tip of the spear backpack will actually get an extra 20% damage from your TAC 50, as well as generate 2 ammo per minute rather than 1. Might not sound like a big increase, but just to make up for those 2 shots on your TAC 50, you will need to land maxed out Headhunter stacked Nemesis headshots at least 4 times in a row, just to vaguely make up for your TAC 50. Okay, the TAC 50 really is that powerful, so maximising its potential and its usage on your tips build will require the tip of the spear backpack, which I wholeheartedly suggest. There is a reason that a lot of the endgame and meta players consider it the absolute best in slot for tip of the spear builds, and it is quite simply just because TAC 50 hurts. It really does. Anyway, I hope you potentially enjoyed the different styling of this video, maybe a little bit more polite, but in the meantime, have fun, good luck, and don't die. It's bad for the health.